Hi, I'm Dr. Cornelia Franz, and welcome to Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. I am so excited that you're here, and I'm excited to be here because this is a topic that's near and dear to me at this point. So we shall begin. So you are in Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. So the first thing is that this is about you, because it's the first big step to raising emotionally healthy children. Just like in an airplane, when the oxygen drops, you put it on yourself first and then your child. Because when you take care of yourself, then you're there to take care of your child. So, let's just have some questions. Let's just examine our motives and our intent. Okay. Why do we have children? Is it because you have a biologic clock, a deep primal desire to perform or to reproduce? Is it love? You love this other person so much and you love children, you want to do that. Was it an expectation you should have them? Your parents, oh, when are you going to give me grandchildren? All right. When you decided to have parents, did you research parenting? Like we research so many other subjects? Did you decide to wing it, which is what most of us do? Did you explore your baggage beforehand and how you could corrupt this child with your stuff? Did you make a plan for parenting? Just like we make a plan to buy a car, pay for the car, buy a house, etc., a plan for education. Really, most of us don't do that, which is really pretty interesting. And then when we have children, they're just not what we expected. Okay. We often have all these glorious ideas and fantasies in our head and how we're going to do things. And then you have a child and it's just not what you expected. So be honest. Is it what you expected? What did you expect? That you would know everything instinctively? That your children would behave all the time? That they would listen all the time? Do what you ask all the time? Did you place expectations on yourself to be perfect? Did you place expectations to do things differently than your mother and father did? Well, we all do that. My mom used to do this. I will never do that. I will never say that. And did you believe you could hide your flaws long enough so you could parent well? And did you believe that because you have higher education or experience, that would be all easier for you? Well, if so, welcome to the club. We all do these things. Childhood for most people is awesome. It's fun time, play time, carefree time. Okay. And it should be that for children. Children are free to be themselves until we test the boundaries and get knocked down. Testing boundaries should be testing boundaries with feedback, not getting knocked down. Our character is attacked and we are labeled rather than our behavior. You're a bad girl. You're a bad boy. You're stupid. Why'd you do that? Rather than our behavior. Our parents, they're the product of their parents, and subconsciously they are directing us, or consciously, are directing us in the way they think we should go, rather than listening to our own inclinations, which often show up early. And also trauma happens. Post-traumatic stress happens in various forms, and children do not have the coping skills. And parents, well, they have their own baggage. Again, they're operating out of their own dysfunctional parenting, okay, or functional parenting, but we all have baggage. And most of our adult dysfunctions come from childhood, when things were said or events happened that we had no clue how to handle. So we made decisions in our own child wisdom with what we had, and these decisions keep us safe. And we brought them with us into adulthood when they no longer keep us safe. Things like, well, I tried to speak up and I got slapped across the room, so I will never speak up again. Okay, that will keep me safe. And no. And childhood traumas are not all violent. That's a really important concept for people to understand. As children, we don't have the ability to see through what parents or adults say or do, to see it is their pain from their childhood and they're recreating the same issues. And some children are very resilient and some aren't. We can make a difference now by raising an emotionally healthier generation of children. And we cannot protect them from everything, but we can give them the tools to be resilient. We can be there for them and able to truly listen to their issues without becoming instantly angry and wanting to retaliate on whoever hurt our child. And boy, is that ever a primal instinct, but we have to often hold that at bay to get the whole story to investigate. And so, why do children behave the way they do? Well, because they're free. They have no trouble trying something to see what happens. They don't overthink anything. They trust that you'll be there to catch them if they fall, or someone will. Their minds are not cluttered with stuff. They have not learned to lie or judge or manipulate. And they are pure honesty until we teach them otherwise. They listen to their bodies, their hearts, and not their minds. They are who we used to be, and it simply got trained out of us. And why do children behave the way they do? Because they can. So when you parent, are you consistent? Oh, this is the hardest thing in the world. It was for me, being consistent. Do you have boundaries? Do you see your children as people or as disobedient gremlins designed to thwart all your plans? Could you be influencing your behavior, their behavior? Well, that answer is yes, whether you realize it or not. So first, figure out who you are and realize that you brought an amazing person or amazing people into this world, and it's your job to guide them and teach them. So for me, these next several slides are on parenting styles. And for me, basically, I think there's two: permissive and punitive. And permissive, the stereotypes are the hippies, the trust fund kids, no boundaries, no relationships. They just do whatever they want. And then punitive. Our society is mostly punitive. The military is a great example of punitive type parenting, and it's a very dysfunctional method of teaching. We learn to be demeaning, sarcastic, defensive, and shaming to protect ourselves. And so that's because you were demeaned and sarcasted. Okay, it's not even a word, and shamed. And so you learn that and you go, okay, well, that's how I protect myself. And it's fear-based. Adults join the military when they join the military and understand it's mind games for the most part, they do fine. But if they don't, there are many who suffer mental trauma. And that's going to, cross the border into your own parenting styles. Parents want to prepare their children for the world that awaits them. And whether a parent chooses to be more relaxed, which is in keeping with the Scandinavian model, or more controlling, which is the US model, depends at least in part on the prevailing socioeconomic environment. Our perceptions about the surrounding world shape how we parent our children. So if you feel the world is very scary and threatening, you are going to pass that on to your children with your body language, your tone, and not always your words. And children are incredibly perceptive. So what then is the best way to prepare our children for life and its challenges? It all depends by and large. It all depends. By and large, intensive parenting is neither right nor wrong. However, there are ways to avoid the kinds of excessive overparenting that end up stifling our children's individual talents. For example, sometimes the wrong path may in fact lead to incredible opportunities. So it's changing your vocabulary, changing the way you look at things, changing the way you look at your child, changing the way you look at their actions. And it's all about choices and decisions. Life is nothing but choices and decisions. So what choices have you made to get where you are? And where do you go from here? What examples do you want to teach your children? Do you want to teach them that love equals sacrifice? All right. That doesn't always work out well, because love is actually a commitment. And within that commitment is tough love, and it's allowing people to make choices and learn from it, because life is a journey. Teach your children that all choices have consequences, and some consequences are very rewarding and some are not. Some are helpful, some are not helpful. But every choice, every decision teaches us something. So let your children make mistakes and learn without shame and derision. And keep them from making life-threatening mistakes. Hello. Okay. Eliminate good and bad from your vocabulary, because there is no good or bad. It's helpful or not helpful. It's useful or not useful. It's dysfunctional or not. You know, what did you learn? Because you're going to learn something. And when you eliminate good and bad, it really is quite freeing, because good and bad are so judgmental. And we tend to label our kids, you're a good kid, a bad kid, you know, those things we already talked about. So begin to change the words and you will see differences. Now, out of the this website at the bottom, there are 14 styles of deliberate parenting. And I think some can be combined. There's authoritative, which these people are parents, not friends, and they're not shy about praising kids. They're firm but warm, holding high expectations but prepared to reward kids when they're met. This style tends to reinforce constructive behaviors and lead to positive, respectful parent-child relationships. Authoritarian is much more negative. All right. Parents take rules seriously. They want their kids to know it. They're not warm. They don't accept excuses. They expect obedience. And this can lead to a failure to bond emotionally, as well as rebellious behavior, anxiety, and delinquency. Permissive parents are enablers. It does come from a place of genuine love, and they want their kids to enjoy their childhood, so they don't enforce rules and provide toys and let bad behavior slide. So there's very few boundaries, and that's not helpful. This style can lead to a cordial parent-child relationship, but also impulsive or materialistic behavior as kids get older. Uninvolved parents, not helpful. They're either not present physically, emotionally, or both, and they don't feel emotionally tied to their child's well-being. They may be actively abusive to their child or overlooking abuse in their surroundings. And this obviously can have countless consequences. Attachment parenting is secure for baby, but demanding for parents. Much more pressure on the parents because you're co-sleeping, kids always with you, absolutely no crying. It's a nurturing bond that keeps parents and babies close, and it can teach kids greater empathy and compassion. Gentle parenting. Gentle parents make it a priority to understand and maintain a good relationship. This style doesn't have to be overly permissive, but it may help kids feel less hostile. The yellow ones are ones that are constructive, and I think blending these styles can obviously be very useful. Free range parenting, hesitant to overprotect. They don't want to shelter their kids too much. Within reason, they advocate letting them roam and encouraging their belief in their own abilities. It's great for fostering independence, but the obvious downside is the potential for unsupervised mischief and unsafe situations. Now, some parents, and like me, our childhood very much had free range. We would leave in the morning and come back at dinner, but there was also authoritative type parenting, even gentle. I mean, we were taught values and boundaries. Many kids can't do free roam, free range today without uninvolved, overly permissive parents who don't care where they are. That's my opinion. Again, there are combinations that work very well. Slow parenting. Okay, this is a conscious decision to remove overcommitment, clutter, and invasive media. And I mean, another word could just be old school parenting. The goal is to give them plenty of time to recharge and pursue their authentic interests, and it can encourage early self-sufficiency and confidence. And yeah, there's great value in this, in the way that the parent can determine what kids should and should not be exposed to. Tiger parenting is perfectionist parents. Okay, this one is just not really useful. Children are going to be more disciplined, but they're often at risk for verbal and emotional abuse. Okay, failure to meet or exceed expectations is punished with insults, threats, and worse. Gender neutral parents prefer to allow their child to choose their gender identity, and may keep their biologic gender a secret from non-family. Children may be less likely to engage in stereotyping, but may feel confusion about their identity. Personally, I just can't support this kind of parenting. Helicopter parenting is just as the name says. These are hovering parents. Okay, they want to protect them from anything harmful. And even when they succeed, they deprive their child of opportunities to learn and grow on their own. This can make a child feel hostile, embarrassed, or overly dependent on parents. So helicopter could be relabeled as codependent. The snowplow parent, everybody's familiar with them. The ones who are just going to push their way into every advantage that their children could possibly have. And this takes away the child's chance to earn things, as well as their drive towards personal accomplishments, because someone else is going to do it for them. Narcissistic parents, they expect their children to serve them on every level. They must obey their parents' every whim, but they also wind up in a big psychological drama and trauma, because you can be the favorite one day and emotionally abused the next. This can lead to emotional trauma, suicidal thoughts, and other serious mental illness. Toxic parenting is the hallmark of child abuse. Children can be neglected, their basic needs going unmet. They're likely to be abused by parents or by other parties as parents fail to intervene. If child abuse is suspected, it's never too soon to act, only too late. And abuse will lead to PTSD, lifelong issues, and it must be ended as soon as possible. So those are the 14 styles of parenting. Now, each one of us, not just children, we have 9 basic emotional needs, all right? Security. We all need a safe place, an environment that enables us to lead our lives without experiencing undue fear, and that allows us to develop our potential. Whenever I see this, the first thing I think of is a child's bedroom. A child's bedroom is their safe haven, their safe place where they can go and think, retreat, regroup, whatever. And that's just a simple example. Volition. In order to feel fulfilled, we need to feel like we have the power to exist autonomously and direct our own lives. So this is where choices come in. You give your children choices within their own structure, allowing them autonomy and directing their own lives while you are still directing the big picture. You don't ask a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, which restaurant do you want to go to, for the most part. But you can say, do you want to have, green beans or peas for dinner? Do you want to have chicken or a hamburger? I mean, so it's not, do you want to take a bath? Do you want to take a bath in this bathroom or that bathroom? So this teaches them independence, autonomy, and the ability to choose. And we all need attention. Oh gosh, all of us, okay? Receiving attention from people we care about and giving them attention in return is valuable. Giving attention to your own self is equally, if not more valuable. And that is a truly important concept for mothers, because mothers tend to begin to give up everything for their kids. And that's not a good role model, okay? No. You need to take care of yourself as well. We all need emotional connection. To be emotionally fulfilled, we need to feel connected to other people. And we need to experience friendship, love, and intimacy. And it needs to be safe. We need to be connected to community because we are social creatures and our brain is a social organ. We have to feel connected to something greater than ourselves. Mental and emotional well-being require that we have time and space enough to reflect on and learn from our experiences. So that's privacy, which can also go with security, which to me goes back to a child needs to have their own space, their own bedroom, really, to be able to do that. And that can be a beautiful thing. We need to have a sense of self. It's not enough to have a group, but we need to have a sense of our value within the group dynamics we're part of. I've been using the analogy of a puzzle lately. Okay, so each of us is a puzzle piece in the grand tapestry of life and the cosmos, however big you want to go. And so, you know, some people are the corner pieces, some are the sides, some are the center, some are the others, but every piece of the puzzle is necessary for the whole picture. So teaching us our own selves and then our children that yes, you are valuable within the group dynamics. Okay, you are making a difference. You are a valuable, important piece of that, because without you, that puzzle will never be complete. And we need a sense of achieve. Oh, and back to the puzzle. Well, but there's other puzzle pieces. Yeah, but they're in a different puzzle. Okay, that's one way. Or just no, if you're just one huge mammoth universal puzzle, I'm just a little piece. Nobody will miss me. No, you're wrong, because everything is meant to be connected and work together. So you are valuable. Well, but I'm only a little this. Okay. You know, I don't know. It's a small, small world at Disney comes to mind. All right. Because everything's small. All right. But even the smallest things make a difference. Okay. That baby in your family is now part of the dynamic. Well, they're not doing a whole lot. They're just guzzling resources. But no, not just that. They're teaching you how to love and how to be gentle and how to listen to somebody's needs who's nonverbal. Every person is valuable, and children need to know that. And you need to have a sense of achievement. We have to have a sense that we're accomplishing things of value. And that can vary. You know, I mean, my parents told me, and I told our kids, your job is to go to school. That's what's giving value, because as you get educated and you learn things, you are adding to your resume, if you will, to your life experience, because this is going to help you. And meaning, we need to feel that we're accomplishing things of value. Okay, we all need to have the sense that we're, again, part of something greater, having a coherent set of beliefs about life and what it's all for. And you know, you don't always know, but the journey is the biggest thing. And these are from Maslow's 9 emotional needs, Maslow's hierarchy. You know, and there's a great book for boys. It's called Wild at Heart. And boys go through 6 phases. They have to be a beloved son, and then cowboy, warrior, which takes you to age 25, lover, king, and sage. I love that book and the way it describes these phases, because you can actually see them. But the very first one, really, for anybody, is you have to be a beloved member of the family. You have to feel loved. Little girls like to be a princess. We like to be beautiful. That's important. And both boys and girls, you know, learn to be, you can be strong. And it's not this kind of strong. Strong is many different ways. And you don't have to be strong for everybody. You just are strong for yourself, with that sense of autonomy and independence. And I'm of value. And here's what I do. Now, I want to dwell just for a few minutes on perfectionism. And Brene Brown is one of my favorite authors. And on Netflix, she has a show called A Call to Courage, which is a great show. And it's how I got started in reading her books. But she has been researching for her career vulnerability and shame. And her work is truly amazing, because every one of us on this planet suffers shame in one form or another. This is particularly on perfectionism, because that's another very dysfunctional way of thinking that many, many of us have learned and holds us back. So perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. It is not about healthy achievement and growth. It is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. It's a shield, and it is a defense mechanism. So, when you're little, if you just, classic examples are violent or abuse, you can never do anything right. So you just keep trying to be perfect, because if I can be perfect, then my parent will not yell at me, will not hit me, will not, it's a shield. And then we carry it into adulthood, and it affects everything. It's not self-improvement. It is at its core about trying to earn approval and acceptance. So now you're putting your sense of autonomy and independence outside of yourself and letting other people be the ones who judge you. So if I do this and you approve, then I'm loved. But if you don't approve, then I'm not loved. And most perfectionists were raised being praised for achievement in performance, for your grades, your manners, your rule following, your people pleasing, your appearance, how you performed in sports. It's other focused. It's never me focused or internal focused that I'm of value. It's a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought. If I look perfect, if I live perfectly and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Perfectionism is self-destructive simply because there's no such thing as perfect. It is an unattainable goal. The bar is too high. Therefore, you will become self-defeating. It's more about perception. We want to be seen, perceived as perfect. And again, it's unattainable. And there's no way to control perception, regardless of how much time and energy we spend trying. It's addictive because invariably we experience shame, judgment, and blame, and then we shame, judge, and blame ourselves because we weren't perfect enough. And so we don't question the faulty logic of perfectionism. We just, okay, at the bottom, I'm not good enough. When we feel shamed, judged, and blamed, and we fear having these feelings, these are realities of the human experience, but perfectionism increases the odds that you'll experience these painful emotions and leads to self-blame. It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm this way because I'm not good enough. And oh my gosh, that is not helpful. So how do you get out of perfectionism? How do you get your children not to have to be perfect? We explore our fears and change our self-talk. So when you find yourself going, I'm not good enough, that's a trigger. Yeah, you are good enough. All right. And these are two critical steps in overcoming it. How do we keep it from sabotaging our efforts? Well, people who live authentically and have a sense of worthiness speak about their imperfections in a tender and honest way without shame or fear, right? We all have gifts and we all have weaknesses. So you can acknowledge your weakness. So I'm not a math person. I'm a science person. I'm an English person. Still, you're kind of externalizing, but you know what you're not good at. And that's okay, because that math person is a different puzzle piece. So when you two are linked together in community and continuity, whatever, then yeah, your weakness becomes actually a strength. And second, people who live authentically are slow to judge themselves. They appear to operate from a place of we're doing the best we can with the tools we have at any given time. They have courage, compassion, and connection, which are rooted in the way they treat themselves. Oh, yeah, well, I screwed that up. Well, okay, I learned something. Let's move on. Self-compassion is crucial. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life. There were so many times I apologized to my kids because I just had a very bad parenting moment. And I would go back and say, well, Mom screwed that up. I'm so sorry. I would ask for forgiveness and just acknowledge that I had not been good in that moment. I had not been useful. I had not been functional. Self-compassion is essential to practicing authenticity and embracing imperfection. And being self-kind, being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. Nobody will escape this. Something we all go through rather than something that happens to me alone. Taking a balanced approach to negative emotions so that feelings are neither suppressed nor exaggerated. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. Mindfulness requires we don't over-identify with thoughts and feelings. Thoughts, the more mindfulness work you do, meditative, thoughts are just thoughts. Okay, they're just like things on the counter, and you can look at them and you can move them out of the way. You don't have to glue all those things on your counter to the counter so they can never move and become dysfunctional. So thoughts and feelings, these too shall pass, so let them. But you can also acknowledge your pain. Oh, wow, I'm really feeling sad right now. Why am I feeling sad? Oh, I'm feeling sad because this sad thing happened. Now my life is ruined. No, it isn't. Don't go there. You're just sad in the moment. Okay. You don't want to get swept away by negativity. And perfectionism never happens in a vacuum. You may think, well, nobody knows. And I go, oh, please, you're exuding that energy. Okay. And it touches everyone around you. And we pass it down to our children, even when you don't use the words. All right. They feel like they can never do anything right, although you never said it. We can infect our workplace with impossible expectations, and it can be suffocating for our friends and families. Compassion, though, can also spread quickly. When we're kind to ourselves, we create a reservoir of compassion that we can extend to others. Our children learn how to be self-compassionate by watching us, and the people around us feel free to be authentic and connected. So we've been discussing a lot of ways that we can be dysfunctional because it is about you as the parent first. Now I'm going to give you some tools for success, the beginning of healing. Active listening, listening to what you hear, active listening to what your children are really saying, listening to what your spouse is saying, others, what are they really saying? Most people just listen to response, like, hurry up, I got a response, hurry up. Okay. No, listen to what they're trying to tell you. And if you have to, there's a technique called ear mirror where you reflect back. Okay, so what I heard you say is this. And no, that's not what I said. Okay, what did you say? All right, or yes, that's exactly what I say. And if you're not sure what they mean, you go, well, exactly what do you mean? So I'm listening properly. Help each other, help your children become shame resilient. And you do that by giving them tools, like, letting them know that when somebody is rude, it's not usually about you, it's about them. They're upset and they're just lashing out. And that takes the focus off of, I'm bad, what did I do? You did nothing, it's the other person. Give our children tools to change their perspective and see the other side of things. Well, so-and-so did this, they were mean. Yes, that did feel mean, but let's look at maybe why they did it. All right. And you can be wrong, but at least you're looking at another side, and it leads to greater understanding. With children, this can work. Well, how would you feel if so-and-so, if you did that to so-and-so, or if so-and-so did that to you? You can just sort of role play and get them to see another side, because children are inherently more forgiving and more compassionate. Build their confidence, not arrogance. One of the dysfunctional tools laid on me as a child was, don't toot your own horn. Well, because then it was, if you say you're good at something, you're conceited. And oh God, nobody wanted to be conceited. But it's okay to toot your own horn if you're good at it without being arrogant. Okay. So help children learn to love themselves. They have gifts. Help them find them. Help them find the confidence. I don't want to do that. I'm scared. What are you scared of? I don't know. All right. Well, let's just feel the fear and do it anyway, because I'm here. I'm here to help you. I'm afraid of swimming. Why? You've never been swimming, I mean, but you can coach them through it and give them those tools. And especially with swimming, some days it may not work, and then they're perfectly ready. And here's the big question. Do you love yourself? Because you cannot teach what you don't have. And children, people in general, it's like, I used to be afraid of swimming too. And I was afraid to put my face in the water because I thought I couldn't breathe. But then I found out all you got to do is turn your head. So many times when somebody shares they had that same concern and overcame it, then it's like, oh, well, then I can do this too. Sometimes it's just an overwhelming sense of this is so new, I can't do it. And I have no frame of reference. I have nothing to help me feel good about it. But then another person can say, hey, that happened to me, and here's what I did, and it worked out great. Now, 0 to 7 are actually very crucial years where the foundation of who we will be is established. During this time, children are living primarily in theta brainwaves, and theta brainwaves are the programming waves. They don't get into mostly beta till about 8 to 10, okay? And that's where a lot of our just regular thought and the way we exist every day is. So things you say to children in this time, things we teach them, can get stuck. So, when you go, well, I wish I'd never had children one day because you're mad. All right. Well, if your child hears it, they internalize that. You have no idea how they took it. And they could take it the entirely wrong way. And now it's going to be a threat to them forever. These are the years that traumas occur, although they can occur anywhere along our timeline. And labeling hurts. Well, you're the smart one. You're the pretty one. You're stupid, grumpy, lazy, not living up to your potential. That's when you hear a lot. You're not living up to your potential. And these things can just be very damaging. Authentic praise is helpful. And praise even in the ways of, that was great how you did that. That must feel good that you did that. Empower them. Allow them to try things and succeed or fail. That builds resilience. And so, if they fail, they didn't really fail. There is no failure. There's only feedback. Okay, so that didn't work. All right, so let's try a different angle. That can be so uplifting rather than something very negative. Avoid judging. Ooh, that's a big one, because we all judge, and women are so much more judgmental than men. Things like, see, I told you couldn't do it. All right. As opposed to, oh, that didn't work. What did you learn? Let's try it differently. Okay. And, you're also judging yourself. I mean, give children information. I remember once I had a kid come in who'd broken his arm, I think. And the parents were pretty funny. They were kind of angry. And I'm like, why are you so angry? I mean, how did he break his arm? And they say he fell out of a tree. And I go, oh, well, thank God he didn't break his neck, right? And they go, yeah, but he broke the rule. You never climb a tree you need a boost into. And I thought, oh, well, that's really good advice. But if you don't need a boost into it and you fall and break your arm, you still fell and broke your arm. So, it's not judging. It's, I'm much more investigative. I'm like, okay, what happened? How did you fall out of the tree? What did you do? Because in that particular case, that kid's going to climb a tree again, okay, with a cast on. So how do we then educate and empower so we don't have another accident? And boundaries. We all need boundaries. How far can we go? I've always had this little visual of that with children, that life is like a box, and they're in a box. They can't see everything, and they just kind of push, and they want to see how far they can push. And your job, because you're bigger than the box, is standing there going, okay, yeah, you pushed far enough. Okay. And so then we stop. And, and what is the difference between being assertive and aggressive? Well, body language and words. Okay. So helping them learn, it's okay to be assertive. Somebody was telling me the other day about a little boy that went to his coach for baseball or t-balls, I don't know, something. And he goes, Coach, I would prefer not to play today if that's okay with you. And I went, oh, that is so sweet. And the coach was like, no, you have to play, go on. But the child was assertive. And so, when we can reward them for being outspoken with gentle, well, thank you for asking, but no, I don't prefer that because I really need you today. Something that, again, empowers them. Okay. And one of the things that I do that actually helps me is when I am irritated with products or services, and then I go to make a phone call, I actually listen to how they handle me. Okay. Because, one time it was somebody was helping me. And by the time I got to the fifth transfer, I said, do not transfer me again. I was just angry right away. And they were like, oh, okay. And they were very kind. Okay, but I need to put you on hold for a minute so I can get into your account. I said, that's fine, but don't transfer me. And then my anger began to diffuse and they were very helpful. But I also noticed how customer service people are. If you go get your hair done or if you go to get a massage or any place, how do people react? What has been their training in customer service? Because I find these to be very helpful skills. And, some are going to not be so helpful. We all learn to be angry and pushy to get what we want. And that works about 1% of the time. So it's really not constructive or helpful. So, self-love. Imagine if our children love themselves in a healthy way and could not be hurt by bullies. Imagine if they know when to ask for help and when they can manage on their own. These are things we can teach them. Many times, especially with small children, do you want me to help you? No. And you can see they're struggling, but they said no. So allow them to struggle. I don't have time for them to struggle. And I go, yes, you do. Because if you intervene when they're trying to do it, then you're teaching them they're not good enough, they're help, whatever, something that's not a very beneficial message. Imagine if they understood self-compassion and forgiveness when they make a mistake. Because really life moves forward. It's the only way it moves. So they made a mistake. What did we learn? All right. We all make mistakes. How many of you misplace your keys because you didn't hang them up in the right place? Well, that's a mistake. So are you going to flagellate yourself and just be horrible and get the whole world to be angry because you did something? No, you're going to go, I knew I should have hung them up. Can anybody help me? Yes, you find them, you change your behavior, you move forward. Imagine if our children learned how to communicate from early on, we teach them, hey, mommy, demanding, do this for me. And it's like, let's try again. Actually, a great phrase one of my children did with me was, one day I said something in a pretty negative tone. And my child said, Mom, rephrase and repeat. And I turned around and I went, what? And they said, the way you said that was pretty mean. So can you please rephrase and repeat? And I thought that was brilliant. I had never used that. And I said, where did you learn that? Because it was so effective. Rephrase and repeat. And I went, awesome. So my child had the wherewithal to be able to challenge me, but in a kind way, and ask for what he wanted. Just little things you can do. And so imagine if we don't squash their spirits with yelling all the time. Yelling can be one way to squash them. Other ways are, hey, I want to be an actress. No, you don't. All right. Yes, I do. No, you'll be starving and I can't support you. You're squashing it. This kid's 7. What's going on with you? Okay. Maybe they're destined to be an artist. All right. And be supportive of their choices, even if you disagree. You can. You can explore it. And why do you want to do this? And see. But, and again, I learned a really valuable lesson from a child. And that was that, I was disagreeing with a life choice. And the choice had been made. And the answer to me was, look, it's like this. What if you had finished med school and everything was great, and then they told you you couldn't practice medicine? And I went, wow, it took a nanosecond to say, I can disagree with this, but I support you 100% because this is what you have to do. And that is so incredibly powerful. And imagine if you apologize for bad parenting, any bad parenting moment, okay? And if you free yourself of negative thought patterns that hold you back, how much would your children learn from that? Oh my gosh, they would learn so much. I mean, we still need boundaries, but these are such powerful lessons that change how our children look at life and how they navigate. You know, failure is not fatal and success is not final. It is the courage to continue that counts. And that is really huge. And that's a huge lesson because some people, you know, they have a failure and they feel defeated and they can't go on. And so it's like, no, you really don't fail until you quit trying. And there is no failure, really, it's just feedback. And so we all make a bad move and something from our past will surface. We get triggered, all right? And then you can say something hurtful. We're human. And I remember one time that I got angry with the children, and I said something my mom used to say, and it was really obnoxious. And it came out of my mouth before I could even process it or stop it. And I looked at my child and I started laughing. And then he started laughing because I said, well, that's never going to happen. And that's something my mom said. And that is just so not useful. But I remember that because it was, whoa, I had failed on a grand scale. But then I just laughed. I acknowledged it. I apologized, moved forward, and I never said it again. And that is useful. We grow when we're uncomfortable. You don't grow when you're just complacent. You just stay complacent. And we thrive when we learn that we have value and worth and are part of a bigger picture. And, you know, surround yourself with people who have succeeded and who keep trying. All right. These are important models. Teach our children self-compassion by forgiving ourselves and asking their forgiveness. Teach them to forgive others. Forgiveness is never for the other person. It's for us. Okay. You don't have to forget what somebody did, especially in abuse cases. All right. You know, forgiveness doesn't make what happened okay, but it frees you of the pain and suffering in the rehashing of it so that you can move on. Animals, you know, when a predator is chasing them, adrenaline kicks in, they flee for their lives. Yes, it's very stressful. And then when it's over and they're safe, it's forgotten. But what humans do is this same thing happened and you escape and life is good, but then you rehash it for the next 20 years. I almost got eaten by a lion. Okay, but you didn't. Why can't we let it go? These are dysfunctional thought patterns. Learn how to not play mind games and to be honest and straightforward. There is no failure, only feedback. Be accountable for your decisions and choices. Own them. Okay, yeah, that was dumb. That didn't work out. Okay, yeah, I did pick that hotel and it really sucked. But you know, afterwards, we picked something new or we endured it. I mean, there's always something to be gained. And none of us is perfect, not even you. We all are a work in progress. And you know, your children are a work in progress. Just look, they go from being a baby who doesn't do much of anything to a child who's walking. Well, they still don't do much. They don't have a job. They can't read, to now going to school, to learning these things. Raising children is watching a work in progress. Why do we think when we hit 18 that the progress is done? It's not. Move forward every day because change is additive and cumulative. And one of my favorite tools is a success journal or a gratitude journal. Okay. Write down 3 things every day that something successful that happened. We are here in life to learn. So let's learn and teach how not to operate from emotions, because that's what most of us do. Something happens and you just get all intensely emotional. Well, emotions are useful. I'm not saying have none, but you don't let them run the show. They're there as guides. And there's a wonderful book, The Four Agreements. And the four things in the four agreements are how to be impeccable with your word, which means all the things we've talked about. Being compassionate to yourself, not committing to things you won't do. And if you do commit, do it, etc. It's a great book. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. And imagine if we were all awake and working together. I mean, awake meaning aware of these things and working on ourselves and improving. Can you imagine the power and love in all that? It starts with you, and you are the first step to changing. 10 generations of children will be affected by our simple choices to do better, be better, and do it for our children. You can change. Many of us think we can't, and that's negative self-talk, right? But you can. It just takes practice every day. Okay, maybe you do 10 things in a day and 9 of them you did right or well, and 1 of them you didn't do well. And we tend to just blame and judge and shame ourselves for that one thing. No, write it down. I mean, write down the 9 things you did that were successful. It takes self-compassion. Why would you not treat yourself like you would treat your friends or your children? It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. If you're an adult and you've got 30, 40, 50 years of crap behind you, then it's going to take time. And have faith in yourself that you can do it. We only fail when we quit trying, and there are plenty of days we want to quit. Those days need the most self-love and forgiveness. We are strong when we are weak, and we admit our vulnerability. And no one wants to admit they need love and connection, yet we all do. So why are we so afraid of that? And we are hardwired for love and connection. So these are some powerful resources for people if you want to read them. The next slide will be on myself and Erin are going to be teaching a master class on this kind of information, which is going to be incredible. But books, Lee Strobel, The Case for Christ, is a great book. He was an avid atheist, and he set out to prove that everything Christ did was wrong, and the book is amazing. Ruiz, The Four Agreements. Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. What a beautiful book on the hamster wheel of anxiety and the other voice in our head. This book is so full of incredible information. And Brene Brown, anything she's written or done, get a hold of. Take the first step, dare to change. Sign up for our masterclass and begin the change today. It's going to be called How Your Past Limits Your Present, and the link will be on Facebook probably Monday. This is how your childhood traumas lead to adult dysfunction. So we're going to elaborate a little bit on childhood traumas, but we all have events that shape us. And then when we make these decisions, the habits, as we said before, are carried into our adult beliefs and lead to self-sabotage. We will be discussing self-sabotaging identities that limit our ability to be authentic and be our true selves. And they also limit our effectiveness as parents to teach our children how to be their true selves. We are going to talk about gender identity, body dysmorphism, depression, anxiety, and then tools on recognizing your identity and how to change that so that you can be who you want to be. And as we get to the root causes of our own dysfunction, you begin to take back your control and the path to healing to your authentic self. Then you're going to live your life to the fullest. And because when you return to your authentic self, then the job you want, the house, the life you've always wanted is available. Your dreams are the result of your commitment to reclaiming yourself. So this class will not be free. It's only $299, valued at $29.90 really. So we're going to do a really deep discount because the information is so powerful and I want you guys to have it. So that is our class. If you have any questions, then let me know. You can put them in the chat or you can unmic and ask them. All right. Well, I guess I did a great job. I don't see any questions just yet. So thank you so very much for attending. This has been great. I love this subject because I want to help parents become the best version of themselves to help their children be the best versions of themselves moving forward. So have a great day, and we hope to see you in the masterclass, and look for the link on Facebook, and have a great day. Bye.